How's it going, everybody? We're on episode 14 of building my Piper PA14 replica. So today we're going to start at the rudder hinges and tackle a few other things back here on the tail post. So let's get at it. Okay, first things first. If you've been watching the videos and following along, you'll notice that since the last one, I cleaned up. Finally had enough of working in the disaster that everything was, so bench was completely cleared off. That's just from today, and did a good cleanup on the floor, got some stuff out of the garage. So yeah, I started to lay up the hinges. So first thing I done was take some 1/2 by 058, I think it is, no, 065, 1/2 by 065, and I cut 12 3/8 long and 6 3/4 long. That gives me all the hinges for the rudder and the elevator. So that's done. I don't have to cut no more then. And in the WAG plans, these are not in here anywhere that I've seen. And if you don't put them in there, you're gonna have a fun time. As you can see, it kind of shows the hinge material a gap with weld in there. But if you look at one of Piper's plans, this 842-16, it do show in between the tube and the hinge a little part, and if you look it up, it's literally just a little scrap of metal, because I got some tacked onto these here. But if you don't use them, you're not going to have a gap for your center hinge, and you're going to have a fun time trying to get everything put together once there's paint and fabric and everything else there. So spacers goes on here, and then longer ones goes on your 3/4, but that's for later on when you actually build your rudder or your elevator. So don't forget them little spacers. If you go and weld everything up, you're not going to get the pins in. You're going to have a bad day, you're going to have to cut everything off and redo it. So don't forget that. That's a crucial part. And as you can see here, I got everything on a piece of all thread or ready rod or whatever you want to call it. And of course, I'm moving stuff around in there out of line. But right now, okay, I'm gonna have to do this off camera now in a second, line everything back up. But the spacing between the two outsides is 13/16, so it gives you an extra 16th to play to get everything in there. So the standard AN6 washer does the job. You got to grind one little flat on there so it clears everything. But I put one on the outside and one on the inside, so that way I got a point to measure off of. The center to center on your hinges is 34 inches. So if you measure from outside to inside, that's center to center. So you put your washers like that, measure from this side of the washer to that side of the washer. It's easy. And set it to 34. So once I realign all this stuff, we're going to figure out where it needs to go here on the tail post. Somewhere around here. So let's do it. Okay, I got everything lined back up. So tabs are on the bottom, tabs are on the bottom, and I forgot to mention, these here circles are regular 3/8 nuts. I turn them down in the lathe because the 3/8 nut is too big and it'll start to hit and interfere. So if you don't have a lathe, take your time, do it with a bench grinder, bench sander, just get rid of some clearance. You don't have to do it all the way around. Technically, you could do one side on a flat and then screw one nut on, see where it needs to be trimmed, and just sand down that side. Actually, no, you won't be able to get it unscrewed then. So yeah, you gotta go the whole way around. There's no easy way around it. So yeah, now that this is all set back up, we can figure out where we gotta go on the plane. Okay, if we look, it's shown from the bottom of the tube to the top of the first bushing. Okay, if we look here, we had a measurement of 1.5 inches from the bottom of the tube to the top of the lower hinge, which is kind of different. Usually everything on these plans is center of the tube to center of something. So that's a little different, but that's kind of easier to measure, so I'm glad they've done it that way. So it's a nice easy measurement. Oh, and another thing. For the bushings, they're saying use 4130 half by 0.58, and on the inside 3/8 by 0.58, which gives you a 1/4 inch hole for a 1/4 pin. You can do that, but Piper normally uses a brass or bronze insert. They're dirt cheap if you want to go that way. For some reason, I don't know why, but at least on Aircraft Spruce in Canada, the 3/8 long ones are more expensive than the 3/4. Don't ask how that works, but of course you need 12 of the 3/8 and you need 6 of the 3/4. So the one you need more of is more expensive. But I'm actually not going to use bronze, I don't think. I'm going to try and use Delrin. I use a lot of Delrin for other bushings and stuff, and I really like it. So we're going to try to machine it. I don't know what it's going to react like with this thin wall thickness, but we'll see. A couple feet of Delrin was not a whole lot more than like 2 bushings, so it's worth a try. If it don't work, I'll just order some bushings and try it again, or not try it again, shove them in and we'll be done. But here's what I got done. So from here up to here, I got an 1.5 inch mark with Sharpie, and I just got some spring clamps on here. So I got this bottom edge, it's a little proud of the tubing, so it's resting on the spring clamp, and it's holding it in there pretty good. And same thing, top is in the right spot, and the center of the bushing is pretty well in the center of this piece of Piper channel, which is the way it's supposed to be on the drawing. So nothing looks out of place or strange or anything. So then basically you just eyeball it to the center of the tail post here. So right now this should be in a happy place. So I'm going to go ahead and untack it before something moves. Okay. Try to get this burned in without getting anything or moving in there. Still looks good. Okay. All I'm doing, look straight down the plane with one eye, line up, tail post, with all structure in front, with the center. And you can see pretty good as the thread rounds off one side or the other. Pretty easy I can. Still got, you know, for a few more years like this. Now let's do that. Oh. That's good. And square. Finger control is nice. If you can, try to use your pedal with both feet and weld with both hands. Pretty good with my pedal, but that's good. Weld like this is still a bit funny. It's not strange. I hold the fill around with that hand perfectly steady, but when I try to hold this thing, it's supposed to go where I want to go. Okay, there we have it. Everything's tacked in. 2 tacks up there, 2 down there, and same on the other side. So we'll double check on some measurements here, make sure everything's where it needs to be, and we'll burn it in. Alright, now we can pull this piece of thread rod in. And it's going to be hot. Just long enough. I was thinking about the length. I was going from this hinge to the top of that hinge, and I forgot to account for the nut. But I cut it a little over long, so right just enough on top and bottom for the nuts to grab. But 3/8 rod is a cheap expense to use as a jig, so if I had to cut some more, no big deal. And the inside of these are a little under 3/8. You do have to run a reamer through them if you want them exactly 3/8. So it's really tight on this threaded rod, so it's hard to see, but I put it in the lathe and ran a file down the whole length, so it would actually slide good in the bushings. It might not now that it's been welded. Okay, I might have made this interesting for myself. I hope not. I don't know. It should go. There's a little knob from where I parted it off in the lathe. Ooh, that's hot. Little bugger. I'm afraid it's going to do that with the button. How is that? Not bad. Hoping. Just bend this and do that. There we go. While I'm saving this. Not with no hex, but alright, now we can finish welding. We can get in here, get the tops, bottoms, and all will be good. here we go. We now have set rudder hinges. Only I had a rudder. Well, with those on now, I can get started at the tail spring pad thing, because it comes up around this bottom rudder hinge. So I wanted to have that welded in before I went at the rest of the tail spring mount. So that's done, so now we can finish the tail spring mount. Friggin' paint. So let's pattern that up and cut it out and get her done. Alright, so I got the tail spring bracket made, the rear one. Yes, just follow the plans and it'll work out. I never done anything different. To line it up, I tried just kind of holding it there and tacking it, knife on it, and it was not going as nice as I would like it. So this is what I come up with. I got a long piece of aluminum flat bar. You could use steel, whatever you got laying around. I drilled a hole in the center so it lines up in here, and this is where them square tubing comes in handy. Instead of round, you got somewhere to clamp. So that bolt hole is on center. That bolt hole is not on center. The drill bit walked a little bit, so I just re-drilled a little further back. And you can see my scribe lines. It's just a rough reference. There's no particular measurement there. So yeah, put the bolt hole in the center, and luckily this random scrap went all the way up here to this station. So it's centered up here, so should be fairly accurate going that far ahead, but more than it needs to be. So we know that this piece of aluminum is going straight down here. That scribe is perpendicular, so I'll put the bracket perpendicular with that line, and that gives you your twist this way, and your angle this way is also being took care of by the flat bar, because there's a bit of a spring in it. I can push down on it, but I'm not going to, because right now it's where it needs to be and I don't want to move it. And I just put the clamp here on this one. You could put a bolt in here, or you could put a nut and everything on that and cinch it up, but the end of this bolt's kind of buggered up, so it's just an alignment tool at this point, and just a pair of vice grips does the job. So yeah, as you can see, we got the angle on it. I did weld a cap to the bottom of this tube just to close it off. I don't know if the plans call for that anywhere. I've never seen it. I don't know if that's standard practice with pipers from the factory or not. It very well could just be left open, but there's a very slight chance that this plane might see salt water at some point in its life, so I'd rather not have any openings if I can help it. So I welded a cap on it. Might be completely unnecessary and overkill, but well, it was done. It took 2 minutes to do it, so it's cheap insurance. So yeah, I'll get this welded in now that we got it all lined up finally. Stuff like this that seems like it takes the most time. You think, oh yeah, well, line up weld on that bracket, that's a 5-minute job. I'd say I've been out of here now half an hour. So that's the way it goes. Okay, so we got the bracket all welded in. Went ahead and made the tie strap there, or whatever you want to call it. Just a U-shaped strap. I might remake it because one side is a touch longer than the other, the way the bends ended up happening. Yeah, super simple and super easy to make, so I don't know, I'll see. If it bugs me enough, I'll make a new one. It's only off by a tiny bit. But yeah, the tail spring is completely bolted in. So other than making our 2 float fittings, which go in this station right here, other than that, which I consider part of the float rigging for regards to the actual landing gear, it's completely done right now. So that's a plus. I can say something is done. But yeah, we got her on. So next thing I think I'm going to tackle is there's a through hole right here and a bushing that gets welded in for your tail brace wires. So the wire comes down here over to your horizontal stabilizer. So I think that's the next plan of attack, is do that. Alright, next thing we're going to tackle now that we got the spring done is there's a bushing that goes through the tail post here all the way up by that hinge like I was talking about, and that's a 3/8 by 0.65 tube. There's no length measurement per se, and they do show a washer welded on here, and the details over here with the elevator hinge detail for the elevator and motor. But yeah, anyways, the bushing is smaller for your horizontal stabilizer. It takes a 3/16 bolt, 5/16 0.65 tube, whereas this one here takes a 3/8 0.65 drilled to 1/4 inch. But it gives you the detail here: 16 gauge steel washers, fall smooth after welding. 16 gauge is 50 thou according to the back of one of my rules. So the tube is 3/4, so that's 750, 850 thou with the two washers. So if we cut it off an inch long, that should leave us some on the proud outside. Smooth it all out and finish it all in. We're gonna have to actually, I don't know, I might cut it a little closer, because if it's sticking out too proud when it welds it in, by the time you fall it smooth, you're gonna be getting rid of some of that weld. So might actually do it a little closer. So 750, if we gave us 25 thou side, that should be pretty good. So I'm gonna cut it off 900 thou, and we'll try that. So I'm gonna grab my handy dandy magnet, and if I can get the GoPro on the magnet. What are we looking at here? Now, is this all too close, or is it going to work? I'm going to have to back this up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take our Darrow calipers. Yeah, it's off a thou. So this is not getting really a machinist fit. It's getting grinded after. Oh, a little more. Okay. So I use this piece that sticks out. Butt it up. Bring your tool in. Oh no, I might do this a little better. I don't know how else is going to stay here, but we'll try. Okay. So butt that. Bring your parting blade in so it's almost touching but not. Bring it over. And you'll feel it kind of touch. And we are at 550 RPM. That should be alright. Hopefully this GoPro don't fall. And I gotta find an Allen key or something here. Will this fit in there? Yeah, it should be alright. You can also just cut this like in a bandsaw or cut off saw or use a grinder. For little intricate cuts, I don't mind using a lathe. apart. Now we gotta drill a hole in the tail post. It's got a bit of heat in it. Okay, for our bushing spot, and the plans normally is 8.5 inches, but if you've been following this build, you'll know that I made the vertical stabilizer bigger. It's taller. The top is 1.5 inches ahead, and this here is just about 10 inches. Instead of 28 5/8, I just made it an even 38 forward. So normally you measure down 5.5 inches. I'm going to measure down 8 inches because this bushing pretty much got to stay in the same height going up, because the wires that go from here to the horizontal stabilizer, they're a pre-made size. So if I made it higher, the wires ain't going to work, and then I'm getting into getting custom made wires, but I don't want to deal with that. So we're sticking with what it normally uses. And if anyone knows me knows I don't smoke. My girlfriend's got back from down south and she brought me back some cigars, so I'm having a treat. So we're going to measure down our distance. It should put us pretty well in right around here. Drawing shows it in line with the top of this here rib, but what the drawing show and what real life actually ends up being are a lot of times two different things in the case of these WAG aeroplanes. So go by the measurement wrote in and you should be pretty good. The measurements have been fairly accurate thus far, a lot more than the depiction, so follow the numbers. And we'll lay that out and pop a 3/8 hole out through the side, and that's pretty much it really. This one's kind of easy to do. Alright, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a mark right here for our height. That's our 8.5 inches from the top of the post down to here, and I got the other side marked as well for the up and down. So now we need to know where the center is, and there's lots of different ways you can do it, and there's one really simple way you can do it in this case. So I'm gonna try and show you. I can get the camera to show it in a place. So all I'm doing is taking this rule, putting it on here, and can you see the rib in this? I don't think you can. Hold on, I'll bring you up. Okay. You're off to the side a bit, so hopefully it comes out the way I want it to. But anyways, take this, and if you're back here, you're on too far back. And if you're like this, you're too far forward. So take your rule, line it up with your rib, just eyeball it so you see an even gap, and then simply do that. Now if we go down here and have a look, you can see my line this way, and you can see the line up and down that I scribed with the ruler. Or it's not scribed, but this side you can see it too right there. So center punch that one, center punch the other side, drill in, don't try to go right through, because chances are you're not going to come out perfectly on the other side, especially hand drilling. If it's in a milling machine or something, sure, but for this case, drill and drill, 2 steps, and you'll have it pretty darn accurate, good enough, especially for what this is for. Those tail brace wires are pretty forgiving. They got a lot of adjustment in them, and if you know the Piper trim system, it ties into the aft spar of the horizontal stabilizer, and that horizontal stabilizer is the trim, so it pivots, so that tube with the bolt and everything is always twisting and stuff is moving around. So it's not the end of the world if you're off a little tiny bit on this, but as always, shoot for perfection and you'll end up with a better result overall in the end. So let's get drilling. Alright, so I center punched those marks and I drilled my 1/8 pilot hole. And you can come in and verify by putting this in line, and wherever it was touching, that's where your hole goes. And we're pretty good. So there's no point to take a 3/8 drill bit and try to hammer it into this. It's gonna go terrible for you. So step bits. Step bits are your friend. So with the 1/8 pilot hole on both sides, now I can take this and go right on through. Because once I'm getting through this side, I can line it up over here and come on through, because 3/8 is all the way back here, and on a 3/4 tube, as you can see, it's going to be sticking out. So you could go in until it hits and then come in, and yeah, but just come on through until you get to and this step bit's getting kind of worn out. It's soon time for a new one. I would imagine I'm getting close. I can't see down that tube. No, I just hit them. So 1/4 of an inch. We hit the hole. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm lined up over here now with this one. So we're at, can't see it, 9:30 seconds. And the next one's 5/16, 11:30 seconds and 3/8. So we got 3 more notches to go. Okay, that one's a 3/8. We'll come back over here. And 5/16, 11:30 seconds. 3/8. So there we go. Make sure that 3/8 is clear all the way through. Now our little bushing we just cut on the lathe should fit in here half decent. We might have to deburr it. Take one of these handy dandy tools. There we go. Might be a burr on the inside. Why is that side so tight? Oh, there we go. It's still tight, but there. Go that way. Looks pretty darn straight to me. Certainly good enough for what it is. Okay, now we gotta cut those little washers and we can weld this in. Alright, so I did a quick little Google there, and they're saying that 16 gauge is like 59,000 change. This is 063, so that's what we're gonna go with. And to cut our circles, I believe it's a 1-inch annular cutter in here. So I'm actually going to use the slug out of the center because there's no pilot drill bit like there is on a hole saw. It leaves you with a solid core, even though in this case the pilot hole probably helped you out because we got a drill hole in the center of it anyways. But yeah, this is what we're going to work with. And I got it on a piece of sacrificial flat bar there, just so I don't drill into my mill table. We just got to clamp down. So I normally would not condone the use of an annular cutter in a normal drill truck, but this is going to be a very light cut, and I've done it lots of times before without issue, so I'm going to do it again. There we go. We'll trim off that with the belt sander, clean it up, and drill a hole in the center and start welding it in. Okay, so I got the bushing in, the washers, they're welded on, everything's welded in. I went ahead, sanded it smooth, ran my 1/4 inch reamer through it. So that's it, we're done with that. So with that done, we got our rudder hinges on, our rest of our control surface hinges made. We made our tail spring bracket, our tail string strap, I guess you'd call it. So now that's pretty much it until we get into the brackets and all the associated stuff with the horizontal stabilizer and the elevators and the rudder. So I guess you could say the next step is tail control surfaces. So that's going to be its own video, or multiple part video, I'd say. So we're going to wrap this up now for this tail section video. So look forward to the control surfaces for the tail. That'll be the next one. So as always, like the video if you did like it, and have a good one, everybody.